The information shared on CNS Unfiltered is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any health or lifestyle changes. The views shared are those of guests and do not necessarily reflect those of Innate Clinical Nutrition or its affiliates. This episode includes affiliate links, which help support the show. Hello and welcome. I am Jenna Salisbury, and this is CNS Unfiltered, a show where clinical nutrition specialists uncover what traditional medicine overlooks, including the functional modalities and alternative modalities that we often use as a CNS. Our lives are stories within one big story. We spend so much time telling stories every single day. Stories about ourselves, stories about who we are and why we are, and where we've been and how we got here. We tell everyone stories, including our doctors. And each doctor typically gets their own story. Cardiologists get the heart story. Ophthalmologists get the eye story. Podiatrists get the foot story. We're often told subliminally that this information is all that's relevant for that appointment or for that specialist. But what if your heart story, your eye story, your foot story are all holistically connected? We give doctors only bits and pieces, these stories of our lives and our health. We're not expected to give the whole picture, but often the whole picture is needed to solve the whole problem. Often we need someone to hear all of these stories together. We need someone to connect the dots in these stories in order to heal from the inside out. If you're listening to this show, whether you're a CNS yourself or someone who is on your own journey with functional medicine, then we've either had a doctor who hasn't listened to you before, or you've spoken to someone who's had a doctor who hasn't listened to them before. And this experience isn't just frustrating, it's exhausting and at times traumatizing. Sometimes our bodies just know something is wrong. Traditional medicine sees a medical chart, a long line of specialists, and dozens of pharmaceuticals that promise to fix your health, but often don't get to the root of what's going on to begin with. Traditional medicine doesn't ask for your full story. I've discussed this chapter of my life before, but part of what ultimately led me to my arrival in functional medicine was the stomach pains that I experienced for so much of my own teenage years. The pain was debilitating. It would have me doubled over on the track field, needing a friend to help me walk to the locker room. I saw different specialists and had different tests, like a urinalysis that revealed I had proteins in my urine, but nothing ever went anywhere. And this included upper GIs and lower GIs and some pretty extensive testing for a young child. I just kept hearing that everything was normal and I was fine, but I wasn't. I knew I wasn't. Meanwhile, I'm pulling out hair by the handfuls and showing it to my mom, who's bringing it to our doctors in bags saying, "Look at this. This is not normal." I didn't feel like I would ever find answers until I found functional medicine. Let's be real, about 15 years later. It wasn't until I started studying to be a CNS that I began to unpack my whole story and realized that the stomach pains were a stress response. No one told teenage Jenna that. No one had asked me, "Hey, are you stressed about anything? What kind of challenges or pressures are you facing right now? What's that story?" Through functional medicine, I was able to be that person for myself. I had to connect the dots of my stomach story, my stress history, my food story, all of it to get to the root of what was happening. That experience was so empowering, and it's the experience that drives everything I do. As a CNS, I want to know your food story. Of course. But I want to know all of your stories because they are all part of you. I need to see who you really are, where you've been, what stories you even tell yourself, not just bits and pieces of you to empower you to heal. Today's guest, Ian Rubin, owner of Food Story Coaching and professor at the National University of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon, talks with me about the role of coaching and how it plays in a CNS's job. We discuss the importance of learning to connect with clients on a deep, empathetic, and humanistic level in order to empower them to use the tools you give them as a CNS and make lasting changes. It's about the client and their holistic well being. If you're just getting started on your journey as a CNS professional, or you've had it with traditional medicine and want more of a deeper dive, this podcast is for you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to CNS Unfiltered. We have another great episode for you today. Today, we have Mr. Ian with us. He is actually a professor for CNSs. So, kind of jumping in and going to get some education from the educators themselves. So Ian really specializes in food story coaching. And as a nutritionist, filling in that gap from traditional medicine to functional medicine, it comes into getting to know that client, knowing their story, knowing their history. And then we get to know the clues and we get to be that detective and really work through that to use personalized nutrition, personalized care, patient-centered medicine. And that is what we do. So I love that you have agreed to join us today, Ian. I'm so excited to know what you teach and how that could really impact CNS's approach and how we can better serve our clients.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate being here, Jenna. And when I saw your CNS Unfiltered, I was like, oh, talking to CNSs. Yes, this is what I've been trying to do more of. Is currently I work a lot with students, as you suggested, as you mentioned, teach at the Naturopathic University here in Portland, Oregon. But I also have my own practice where I consult and I teach and I mentor and I coach graduates, so people who come from dietetics or naturopathic medicine, and et cetera, in my food story coaching approach. And so getting to talk to some CNSs through your podcast is just super exciting, because what I have seen happen over the years as more and more nutrition students have steered towards the CNS certification for insurance, for legitimacy, for the ability to work underneath doctors, to build their practice, to be more effective, et cetera, what I've seen happen is they've often forgotten or de-emphasized the human connection, the soft side, quote unquote, the soft skills that go along with what it takes to be an effective practitioner in this field. And so I created the food story coaching certification and methodology and way of doing things a few years ago when my graduates were coming out into school. Graduates were coming out of school, getting into the field, and they were like, Ian, it was great to have your classes. They taught me a lot, but I need more. I need more. I want to go deeper into this food relationship coaching. How do I do more? So I was like, oh, I guess I better build a whole thing. So for the last 5 years, since COVID, I've just been diving deeper and deeper into how do I help more and more already practicing wellness practitioners, especially nutritionists, naturopaths, functional medicine docs, to help their clients be more successful in changing their diet through helping them understand and work with their relationship with food. So their food story or their relationship with food, kind of the same side of the coin, two sides of the same coin. So that's the sort of quick answer of what I do. And so what I found is that CNSs and functional medicine docs, et cetera, are brilliant. They're very smart. They know all the biochem, they know all the physiology, they can dial in a protocol or a plan that can absolutely be life transformational for a client. But what they often struggle with, as I'm sure you're aware, is helping the client actually put the plan into action. and sustain it and do it long enough and do it well enough to actually get the benefits.
I think I can see CNSs are usually the ones spending the time to do that. But I definitely see that when it comes to functional medicine, there's a competition, right? Sometimes, right? In some practices, I've been in a lot at this point. And because we are also frontline healers is the word I want to use, but I know I got to be real specific with that word. But we want to give that change, right? We want to give that healing, and there's different layers of thought. So sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think we get super focused on the supplements and the testing, like a physician would, and we lose sight of our special niche and our
Yes.
special power
Yeah.
within this story
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah. Because when you look at the CNS certification, even the certification itself is stacked pretty heavy towards the sciences.
Oh,
And the counseling is like a small piece of what they have to get for the requirements. So what I think happens is they're trained in nutrition. They learn all about biochem. They learn all about protocols and dietary approaches, and they come out of it going, "Hey, I'm brilliant. I can teach people everything they need to know about what to eat." They go CNS route. They get reinforced into the idea that it's all about testing and protocols and supplementation and the power of food. And they, once again, because the certification only has this little bit around coaching and counseling, they forget sometimes. And then what happens is the client makes it even worse because the client says, "Tell me what to do and I'll do it. Give me a plan and I'll follow it." So the practitioner goes, "Great. Here, I've done all your paperwork. Here you go. Here's a great plan. Come back and let me know how it's going." And they come back a week or two or three later, and of course, they didn't do anything. Or they did this much. Or they did a piece or two pieces, but they couldn't do the whole thing. Or it disrupted their life so much that they're like, "Well, maybe we need a different plan." No, we don't need a different plan. We need a different approach to implementing the plan. And so food story coaching developed out of my experience of having been in the field for quite some time, even before I designed it, because I would have clients say that to me. I did personal training, I did nutrition, I did supplements, I did the whole 9 yards. And clients would consistently say to me, "You tell me what to do and I'll do it," or "I know exactly what I should be doing, but I don't do it." And I realized, okay, so it's not about educating them necessarily. It's not necessarily about motivation or desire or necessarily even willpower. There's something else going on. And that's what led me to dive into sort of the psychology and the spirituality and the energetics and the cultural forces and family upbringing and all of the things that I came up with were, oh, we have very complex, multifaceted relationships with food that defy logic, defy rational thought. And that if we don't address them directly for what they are, we can tell people all day long what to do here, and they can want to do it, and they can see on paper that, yes, this would make my life better. But when it comes to the actual rubber hitting the road, their stuff, their story gets in the way and overrides.
yes, I definitely experienced that also. I think,
Sure.
just a personal thing. One of my favorite comments is, "You're better than my therapist," because I have clients that there's going to be some moments we cry. There's going to be some things that we got to dig out because that is part of it. Food is the most important, most intimate thing we do with ourselves every single day. We celebrate with it, we grieve with it, we bond with it. And so to think, like, especially as a CNS, we're going to be able to go in there and we're going to say, change this and move this and stop eating this. And that is not going to affect their connections and their relationships and how they cope and what moves them forward and their identity. Whew, we get to touch on all of that.
Yes. And so the CNSs that do that are successful. The nutritionists, the holistic nutritionists, functional medicine docs, naturopaths, the ones that do that are successful. The clients that will do exactly what you tell them without question, great, they're super successful. But there's a huge number of people who cannot make the changes without that approach.
So, does your program teach the practitioner how to dig, or is it more so towards the client aspect on, I guess, how does it work? You tell
Well,
me.
my program or the school
Yeah,
that I teach at?
your program.
My program. Yeah, my
Yeah.
program, my food story coaching program is exactly what you just described.
Okay.
It's okay, between you and me and the fence post, okay, we're not supposed to say this. It's like therapy light because it's very psychosocial emotional, very psychospiritual emotional, very energetic. It's all about the deep dive into the client's relationship with food, which means I'm going to be touching on deep emotional subjects. I might be talking about childhood, I might be talking about traumas, I might be talking about, challenges with partners, stress management, identity, belonging, meaning making, right? So I come from a Jungian and a Buddhist background in my work. So it's very much about the Jungian approach, the symbolic approach, the parts and pieces within ourselves that speak to us, the voices inside of us. So if we don't explore those as they relate to the sort of the who, what, where, when, why, and how of someone interacting with food, we're never going to get it to them. They're never going to get it rationally. They're never going to just to be like, oh, gluten is not good for me, right? Less sugar, more vegetables, stay away from high histamine foods, 6 glasses of water a day, meditate. They're going to be like, yeah, this all sounds great. This is never going to happen in my life. There's just no way this is ever going to happen. I don't like this. I can't do that. I don't have time for that. I don't have the money for that. My kids don't like that. My partner doesn't like that. My job won't support that. And those are all just the logistics. Then you get underneath the logistics and you find out, oh, I don't put myself first. I'm always number 11 on a list of 10 things to do in a day. I don't value myself. I have crappy boundaries. I have control issues. My identity sucks. Oh, wait a minute. This work isn't really about food at all, is it? No, never about food. Food issues are never about food.
Food is
So
the healing piece, though,
it's the
or
symbol
the catalyst.
or the
Yeah.
catalyst, or it could be the symptom, right? It can
Yep.
be the cure and the symptom at the same
True.
time, right? But it's never about the food.
True.
Right. So a client came to me years ago. She's like, you got to help me get off sugar. I can't stop eating sugar. I'm so addicted to sugar. It's not about sugar. It was about the fact that she was angry, sad. What's the phrase? Halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired all the
Yep.
time. She has control issues. She's a perfectionist. Her marriage was on the rocks. She wasn't feeling fulfilled in her career. She had no outlets. She lived in a small town. She was very progressive in a very progressive and a very conservative town. Kids are all grown up and moved out. No one to talk to. No therapist. Look, can't get a therapist, right? Well, there's nothing to do with sugar. Sugar was just her tool of choice. She didn't smoke. She didn't drink. She didn't do drugs. She didn't gamble. She didn't online shop. She just ate sugar. So it didn't take more than 3 to 6 sessions to realize, okay, sugar is just a symptom of a deeper underlying issue. And she was like, I never thought about it that way. I just thought I was a sugar addict. I'm like, well, okay, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but sugar is clearly the issue for you. But if we don't resolve these underlying things, we're never going to fix the sugar issue. You just substitute it for something else.
So does your program teach the client how to not just dig, but to maneuver through those? Because I do see a lot of nutritionists being like, okay, this is out of my scope at this point. I'm going to refer you to a therapist.
Yeah. No. My program is the bridge between nutritionists and therapists.
Beautiful.
So while we don't work independently with eating disorders, we work with disordered eating, which is pretty much everybody in America.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to refer. They know when to refer out. If it's an eating disorder, a true ED, we can be supportive care. But people who do food story coaching, who are nutritionists or whatever other field they have, they learn to be comfortable and confident in addressing the client's relationship with food in all its multifaceted nature and all of its emotional, psychological, spiritual, cultural components. So my program follows the 4 A's. I teach all my practitioners learn how to work their clients through the 4 A's of food story coaching. This is not going to be revolutionary to anybody who's listening to this podcast, unless you're brand new. Maybe it's new to you.
I don't know, but I'm still super excited to hear
I know, I
them.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. People go, your stuff's so amazing. And I'm like, well, I stole it from everybody else and I figured it out over the last 25 years, right? I just patched it together and made it my own. It's not like I created something out of thin air. But the point is, the 4 A's. 1, awareness. So many of our clients we know are eating unconsciously. We know this is a part of the problem, right? Binge eating disorder, one of the biggest pieces of the definition of binge eating disorder is I don't even know how I just suddenly ate an entire bag of cookies. Right? It's often unconscious. People are disassociating, right? They're trying to get out of their heads as best they can. They don't want to be in touch with what's actually happening, right? Very non-present, somatics. Right? So it's a very awareness building. How does that feel? Where is that in your body? What's that buzzing in your head? Let's really be present. Let's really be here now, right? So that Buddhist, Jungian, like tapping in, right? It's all about tapping in. So we can't do much change unless we're aware. Yes, maybe you can make small changes without awareness, but the big changes start with awareness.
Yes.
Second is analysis. Now, I don't mean psychoanalysis. It's just that to make it into 4 A's, I had to use the word analysis. But it just means deep self-reflection, non-judgmental awareness, non-judgmental sort of self-reflection, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, oh, I'm stressed. I didn't realize I was stressed. I want a cookie. Ah, I'm aware that I'm stressed and want a cookie. What's going on? Oh, I just had a crappy meeting and I'm tired and I'm freaked out about this next meeting that I got to go to. Oh, look at that. I know what's going on. I'm looking for some comfort. Most clients cannot do that process on their own. They need us as coaches to help them see that that's what's happening and help them understand and learn how to do that process on their own. So whether it's meditation or mindful eating or journal writing or just, body check-ins, we teach them how to become more self-aware and more non-judgmentally self-reflective of, oh, this is what's going on. Third one is acceptance. Ah, I'm stressed. I'm looking for comfort. And acceptance for us is the very Buddhist approach to acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you like it, condone it, suck it up. Oh, well, I guess that's what I'm stuck with. No, the acceptance means, okay, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I'm stressed and I'm wanting some comfort. Okay, it is what it is. And that work is very, very hard, right? A lot of the work revolves around helping clients move away from the sort of what do we call it? The A, B, right? The all or nothing. It's A or B, either it's good or bad. The black and white, the sort of, universal way that we look at the world. The dualistic, right? The very dualistic way we look at the world. So coming from a Jungian background, Joseph Campbell and Buddhist, we're looking at the non-dual. We're trying to be non-dualistic. It's both and. Well, can't you be stressed and want comfort and know that the cookie's not the best option for you all at the same time? Can you accept that all exists in the same, container? They're like, but wait, what? Don't I have to pick one? Shouldn't I be grumpy and frustrated that I'm stressed or feel good that I ate a cookie or feel guilty and shamed that I ate a cookie? And I'm like, well, what if we just put that all in the same bucket and just let it be what it is? And they're just like, ooh, that's really intense. Because if you can do that, right, we know if you can do that, you can go to the fourth A, the classic, which is action. You can make steps in the right direction. So most people jump from awareness to action. They don't do any of that in between work. They go, oh, I'm stressed, cookie. I'm in a bad mood, milkshake. Whatever. That's just how they are, right? Or whatever, or they don't eat, right? Whatever their reactions are. So awareness, analysis, acceptance, and action is the work that we do with all of our clients because that's diving into their relationship with food. We're uncovering layer after layer after layer, connection after connection, whether it's ACEs, childhood experiences, and oh, my mom put me on a diet when I was 10, and I went to my first Weight Watchers appointment when I was 12, and my dad always said, oh, you'd be so pretty if, right? To I never got picked for the school, for gym class. I was a big boned person. It's just on and on, right? All the layers of story, cultural forces. I grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I was from a family that believed in this, right?
Yep. I feel like that is a lot that I see is if we're getting over that hurdle, we're coming into identity.
Exactly.
Where does it start and where do you want to go? And your third A, and analysis, acceptance. Acceptance,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
You were talking about the shoulds. Shouldn't I feel like this? Shouldn't I feel like that? I have totally taken that out of my vocabulary and I do not use it with my clients. And if they use it with me, we're gonna wait and reformulate that sentence because just even removing that thought pattern of I should feel like this, or you're supposed to. Nah, throw it out the window.
Yeah. So you and I we're two peas in a pod. You could be teaching my program really quickly here if you wanted to. Like you're already there. So when I teach students and when I have colleagues that I teach this program to, one of the hardest things for them to recognize is the power of language. So when clients say, I should, shouldn't, have to, must, need to, can't, can, always, never, I'm like, you need to jump on that language. Same thing with personal pronouns. They'll say, well, you know how it is when you come home really late at night and you're really hungry and you just want to eat something fast. And I say, who are you talking about? Who is this you're talking about? You're talking to me? Who's this third person you're talking about? Say I. When I come home and I'm tired and I'm stressed out, I want to eat crappy comfort food. Own it. And they're like, yeah, but if I own it, now I got to do something about it. I'm like, well, disassociating isn't getting you there. So let's do the hard work of owning it, internalizing it, bringing it back to our center and saying, okay, now what am I going to do with that new ownership? So my whole program is about empowerment over education. CNSs are great at education, but they're not always, and this is not just true to CNSs, this is the nutrition world in general. and the whole health and wellness world in general. So I'm not trying to pick on CNSs. The broad swath of the health and wellness field, including alternative health, naturopaths, functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, they put education over empowerment, or they believe that education immediately and inevitably leads to empowerment, and it doesn't.
I follow.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
our model is empowerment first, education second, when needed to facilitate empowerment. And so what I find is that when people take my program, it just tilts the scales for them. They're like, I could teach this person everything they need to know. Oh, wait a minute, that's not necessarily going to empower them. If I just shift my mindset to what's the most empowering thing I can do for the client, and then figure out where the education piece fits in second,
Exactly.
then it transforms their practice. They work less, it's less effort for them as a practitioner, because they're not having to, constantly try to get the client to follow their plan, and they're not building another meal plan and another protocol, and they're not like chasing the client down. It's just, they're like, wow, this is so much easier if I just empower the client. The client is more successful. The client returns, repeats their sessions. They stay longer. They have greater success. They create more referrals. They generate more revenue, and they're more successful working more easily.
Because you're able to meet them where they're at. You break that barrier from the beginning, right? Like by the time they reached us, a lot of times they're done with traditional medicine too. So to hit them with that first, with your approach and the emotional piece of, I got you, I got all the knowledge we can have. But the truth is, I'm going to be your coach and I'm going to be next to you no
Right.
matter what it is. And if we got to vomit up that divorce from 20 years ago to get under 200 pounds, then I guess that's what we're going to go through
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get to those goals.
Yeah. Clients have found food story coaching when they're done. They're done. They're done with dieting. They're done with restrictions. They're done with deprivation. They're done with being miserable. They want
Sure.
they want to escape. One of my number one colleague, my co-founder, she says it's food freedom. They're looking for freedom from the obsessions over food.
Beautiful.
And what we find is that they're ready for the personal growth and personal development that it takes to get there, because they're transforming their relationship with food, which is a gateway to transforming their relationship with themselves, and vice versa, right? Because food is a reflection of and a tool to change their relationship with who they are, because the work is really not about the food. So when they come to me, they're done. They get it. They're like, nope, I don't want a diet plan. I don't want a protocol. I don't need to weigh food. I don't want you to ask me for a food journal. I want you to help me figure this crap out once and for all. And it's like, okay, well, you do understand what that means. And usually they're like, I think I do. And so we start, and within the first 2, 3 weeks, they go, oh, this even goes deeper than I thought. And we're like, yeah, because food is the most primal relationship we have. Because if you think about it, you come birthed out of your mother, and the first thing you do, you go right to the breast,
Yep.
right? So just after oxygen that you took in your first 2 lungfuls, you go into the breast. So
Yep.
food is the most symbolic, deeply sort of visceral part of our lives, and it carries the most meaning of anything we do in our lives. And so if you look at it from a Jungian perspective, if you look at it from, like, say, an anthropological perspective, a Margaret Mead, first we do food, then we do everything else.
Mhm.
And so food comes first. So if we don't resolve our relationship with food, no wonder we're having challenges with other things, or that we can't resolve our health issues, because our relationship with food is out of whack, because our relationship with ourselves and then our relationship with food is out of balance. So yeah, yeah. So you're absolutely right. And that is what I'm trying to do, is help move the industry just a little bit more in that direction. Yes, protocols are great. Yes, it's great to be able to educate a client about their PCOS and their diabetes and explain to them that a low histamine diet is what they need. Yes, great. I thank God you're there. Like, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm so thankful that functional medicine doctors and CNSs and functional nutritionists are there so that they can do the testing, do the diagnostics, do the assessment, build a protocol that really, really helps. I've benefited myself. I have my own people who do that for me. But if we can't do it from an empowerment model, if we can't do it from a whole person model, if we just keep fire hosing people with data, and then we're surprised when they don't follow our advice, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot,
Yeah, this is
right? And we're like,
bringing the humanity into it and really
right,
anchoring into that. That's
right.
beautiful.
Yeah. And the other piece of it, just as a practical matter, So many people in our field don't survive because of the finances. They can't keep their clients. They can't generate new clientele. They can't generate enough revenue to do the work that they're passionate about and that they're great at. And part of the reason is that their business model fails because their coaching model isn't there, or their business approach isn't there. So again, if you get a client and you do the old school traditional, which is still very common, old school traditional thing of first session assessment, second session you show them the program, third session you do a checkup, then they're gone. They're on their way. You say, okay, come back to see me in 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 6 months. It's no wonder that has a terrible success rate. When in fact, the real model that works is first 3 sessions is just to get you the baseline. And then we start the real work, which is 3 to 6 months, a year, whatever it's going to take, of weekly coaching. Now you have recurring revenue. Your retention goes up. The success goes up. They start offering referrals. And what do you know? Your business model starts to work.
Because you're not just, you could meet every month, we'll say for the food, right? Supplements take at least 3 to 6 months. Yeah, let's check those. All that fill in the middle, what you're saying is the life coaching pretty much, and the food story coaching, and getting to the bottom of what's going to make all the recommendations and protocols you have actually stick long
Yeah,
term.
because the client, more often than not, what happens is the client looks at the list, and again, more often than not, they say, I understand what this says. Like it's not
Sure,
like they
they can
don't
read.
understand. They can read. They're like, I get this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And the average practitioner says, well, it's really important that you do. It's going to make a huge difference. Oh, here, let me give you a cute little, quick little, ditty. Put your gym shoes in your bag and take them to work. Make your lunch ahead of time.
Prep your breakfast. Yep.
Prep your breakfast. Yeah, put your bowl out ahead of time. Whatever. Silly little quips. They're like, wow, gee, thanks. That's really going to help me with my complicated life. Gosh, if only I knew that I should just take my gym clothes with me in my car, and then somehow magically then I would start going to the gym. Or oh wow, just get a pretty water glass, and then you'll be more motivated to drink water out of the glass. They've heard all of these trite, tiny little life hacky bullshit, pardon my French, ideas for the last 10, 20 years. And that's not what's going to fix it for them. That's not what's actually going to help them be successful. So you're absolutely right. Yes, you need to check in with them about their protocol. Yes, you need to make sure that they are able to make tweaks and adjustments and modifications. You need to check their numbers over some amount of time. Is this protocol working? Nope, we need to tweak this, tweak that. But if they're not able to implement it sustainably enough and sufficiently enough over time, then you'll never know if the protocol is working. And so the whole model of the health and wellness field it's all about the protocol. It's all about the front end education, not about the longevity of the program, the implementation of the program, which is all about coaching. It's all about psychology and behavior change management and coaching. And so this is me up on my soapbox. The whole thing gets blown up because we're not teaching our clients how to succeed without us, right?
How
You
to
know
be
as well as I do.
resourceful or resilient.
Right. We know that the fundamental job of a coach is to make the client independently successful without us.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to work your way out of every client,
Yep.
right? That's empowerment. That's the empowerment model. So if we do the work, really do the work, which is I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to help you figure out how to figure out your own answer. Then when you're struggling next time, you won't be like, I don't know what to do. I better call Ian. I need a new session with Ian. No, hold on. Ian and I have worked on this. I know what I need to do. Okay, maybe I don't do it as well as I do when I see Ian or Jenna. Maybe it's not as ideal. Sure, I get a better result faster we get right at it. Sure. Okay, I'll see them every 4 to 6 weeks. Really help me stay on track. But the other 4 weeks, I'm pretty successful on my own. I can get it done. It's not like they just fall apart and they're like, oh gosh, without Ian and Jenna, I don't know what to do. That's the problem with the general broad model, which is you become dependent on your practitioner, but then the practitioner still doesn't know how to facilitate change in you, but you keep going back because there's nothing else. There's no other option for people in many cases. So thank goodness for CNSs. And again, sounds like an arrogant brag, but thank goodness that there are people doing food story coaching or similar,
Yes.
Food relationship coaching in some manner. So,
And you took the words right out of my mouth because I was going to say it right back to you, Ian. Well, thank God, there's someone bridging this gap too. I think we can agree that we are on like a precipice of a paradigm shift within our medical world. And oh my God, it makes me so excited. And that's really what this podcast is all about too, is to push that forward. And you're exactly right. Until we get to the root and the foundation of who we are as humans,
yeah.
emotional, and we need food to live. So those have to come together for that lifelong change. So say we have some CNSs or other practitioners or health coaches listening, and they're like, all right, Ian, I'm sold. I need this part. I need to do your program. What does that look like? Is it online? Is it 4 months, say 12 months?
We've tried to make it as convenient and as accessible as possible, right? Since 2020, almost everybody now is looking for an asynchronous online program. In other words, it's you do it whenever you want to do it. You access the portal. You can do it at night, midnight in your pajamas. You can
Yep.
blast through it in 6 weeks. You can take your time and do it in 6 months, right? We've tried to build it so that it's again as accessible as possible for someone who wants to add this to their repertoire of tools and skills. So there are 8 modules, 8 videos, lectures, presentations, supplemental material, et cetera, et cetera. But it's 8 modules worth of material that explain philosophy, methodology, where's the background on this, talks about the forces of culture and food story in general. What is food story? Where does it come from? Why does it matter? How does it impact clients? And then the second half of the program is all about how to implement it. How do you work with difficult emotions? How do you deal with difficult circumstances, right? How do you set up your practice? How do you run your practice? How do you implement this into your practice? It's all there, everything, top to bottom. Everything you need from A to Z is in this program, as far as we can tell, to give you what you need. Mentorship, peer mentorship, self-reflections, demo videos. I mean, it's all there. It's all there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And did I hear that this not only just what food coaching is and how to implement with your clients, but you also have some business pieces in there of how to make it real to implement it on the business side, not just in the coaching side?
Absolutely. We recognize that there is that necessity. And again, we're not business mavens. You're way better at business than I am, just in the few minutes we talked. I'm a great coach. I'm a thought leader, supposedly, right? I have my skill set. I was an entrepreneur for 12 years and I struggled. I'm not the best entrepreneur. But we've gleaned, myself and Caroline, my co-founder, we've gleaned enough, to say, well, here's what we've discovered. Here's what we have found to be effective. And we suggest at times where we're not strong, we say, this is a great time to talk to a marketing person. This is a great time to talk to your business coach and figure out how does this fit into your specific business model. But we do offer what we think are some effective ways to implement this into an existing business model, how to tweak an existing business model that's more reflective of a coaching model using food story coaching. The big one is what I suggested, which is don't do the traditional 3-session model where you bring a client in for an assessment, give them the program in the second session, review it in the third session, and then turn them loose. We have suggestions about how to do that differently and in a way that will build your business, give you more recurring revenue, will give you more steady state clients who recur, who keep coming, right? It's a coaching model, not the traditional nutrition model. So yes, we try to do both. Teach you how to be a great coach and then how to actually put this into action. Yes, both are there.
Awesome. 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 And where would they find this?
So foodstorycoaching.com. And the portal is designed for consumers, but also for practitioners. So it'll say, are you a professional looking to be a good food story coach? You just click over here. We have some folks who are food story coaches who are listed in our client-facing portal. So if you had heard about food story coaching or someone's like, I'd love to do food story coaching. Who does that? Well, then we have a little portal that shows like, here, you can work with these people who do food story coaching. But
Awesome.
for the professionals, you still find it in the same place.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And what would you say is one myth that you would like to debunk? And I'm leaving it broad for you. Usually I'll bring it into their scope, but I'll leave this one broad for you.
Okay, I'm just going to go with what hit my head. The myth of knowledge is power.
Ooh, I'm going to buckle up for this one because I repeat that. I am on auto with that one, so tell me.
I have a quote. Knowledge without the ability to use it or hold it in reserve without judgment is disempowering. Why? Because it creates shoulds. So stop thinking to yourself as a practitioner, hey, look, I'm just giving them information, or hey, they can use it whenever they want, or they can take it or leave it, or it's just information, take it or leave it. No, no, no. It is not benign to just give people information. It is in fact detrimental to the process if they cannot use it, or at least put it on a shelf and not be shooting on themselves about, I know this information and I'm not using it. We're in a situation right now culturally of information overload, right? And paralysis, right? We've got people who are paralyzed. Too much information creates paralysis. So what do people do? They fall back on what they know and what's comfortable and what's familiar. So a lot of what we need to remember as practitioners in this field is less about transferring new data to the client as it is about curating and clarifying and simplifying what they already know.
Yep. And that's usually what, because they come to us last, right? They come to us last. So they come to us with a binder full of testing, a bag full of supplements saying, what am I doing? I got
Exactly.
these from my chiropractor. I got these from a naturopath. I got these from Instagram. And nothing's working. I was like, well, there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, let's back it up.
And we got to back it up and we got to lay it out for what's true for you. Yeah, this is a great supplement, but what are you using it for? Oh,
And
well,
why are you using it?
and why are you using it? Oh, we're not hitting any dosing to even affect that. So that is a great, thank you. Thank you for that. So before we close out today, any other last words? Anything else you want to give our audience?
I'll give you one of my spiels.
Okay.
Right now, our industry is built upside down. It focuses on the base of the pyramid being bring my special skills to the client. That's the first thing we build our relationships with our clients based on. Like our whole business model is built on the base of the pyramid is I am a functional medicine doctor, I'm a nutritionist, I'm a naturopath. If you're lucky, that middle zone, if you're lucky from a practitioner, it might be coaching and communication and behavior change skills. If you're lucky, if they even have that middle layer, right? The tip of the iceberg, this little tiny tip. If you're lucky to get to the tiny little tip, and the average client, or the average practitioner at the top of this little pyramid is the humanistic piece, the really deep human connection, compassion, empathy, et cetera, et cetera. If you're lucky, if you're lucky. So what we need to do is we need to flip the layers and build the base of our work on human to human connection, compassion, empathy, being human, crying, laughing. I feel you. I see you. I honor you. You know, get your Brene Brown books out. Get your whatever it takes. You know, learn to remember that this is a human to human connection that you're doing more than anything, and that the value of our work is actually built around the human connection. It's not built around what's at the tip, which is your specialty, your expertise. Because if you don't do the base and build a relationship and you don't use powerful communication and coaching skills in the middle, you can't give them the specialty skills that you have that you are so excited to give them.
Awesome. Nailed it. Thank you.
We clearly see the world the same way and
We
do things so
do.
similarly. So
This has been wonderful. And thank you again for sharing your expertise and your commitment to nourishing future CNS professionals. Our industry needs you and others like you to flip that iceberg and start seeing this work as relationship building first, education second. Thanks to our listeners for tuning in today for this episode of CNS Unfiltered. For any listeners wanting to get in touch with Ian, go to foodstorycoaching.com to reach out. Functional medicine really does try to approach health and well-being with the entire human in mind. All of our stories that have shaped us and made us who we are impact our relationship with our food and ultimately our health and wellness. Sometimes those stories can get lost in translation or lost inside of us over time. It's incredible to see what happens to clients who come to functional medicine and share those stories or discover those stories and start to connect those dots themselves and eventually feel empowered to change their lives. Once again, I'm Jenna Salisbury, and remember to listen to your gut.